Listen, no words. Words. I should have said the poem. So beautiful. So
My family is filled with poetesses and poets, musicians, co-secretary generals.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the Co-Federation Solar Sun, our starship, planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, Voyager and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore our and all our, in fact, familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, balance, and future, always balancing, to loving, logically, boldly, become, and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have, interdimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space-time lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ and SQ continuum, balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all, both each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body, for we all, both and each, both and all, can, must, and marvelously and miraculously make it so.
in the thunderous blast, she emerges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She is risen from the nativity of Kandra. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
We all are risen by my intercession and then joining together.
महालक्ष्मी मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्त्वा महाशक्ति महारथी महाभूता महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धि महासिद्धि महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्र महामंत्र महायंत्र महासना महायागत्रमाराध्या ॐ महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पक महाताण्डवसाक्षिणी महाकामेशमतिथि महात्रिपुरसुन्दरी चतुष्षष्टि उपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टि कलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टि कोटि योगिनी गणसेविता Celestial event. No. Words. Words. Describe. I should have said. Oh, so beautiful. So
My family is filled with poetesses and poets, musicians, co-secretary generals, co-state bureaus, equinox, true cues.
This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life with light, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not your, our new millennial law.
Okay. I've let us attrition. Maybe name sunflower. We want to turn a tea and blackberry. This is Anna Marie, singing Christmas, and I am Cherokee, Cheyenne, Blackfoot, and Alabama, Dakota. And I am also a French, English, and German. That means we are all related. We embrace the new millennial vote group as the law of all the natives, of the sacred ground that is Mother Earth, and all the planets of all the universes.
Welcome to our Starry Times Hours, Starry Hours broadcast of from the heart and headquarters of the one family community of love, life in the light of balance of the Co-Federation of the New Millennial Golden Rule of Earth and planets. We are here to save the planet Earth. The planet Earth is endangered for one primary reason, which is a primative reason. Too many people, and particularly those in North America, are practicing patriarchy. Patriarchy is an anthropological system that elevates older men to make decisions to a greater extent, to a much greater extent than the rest of the population. It does not work. It causes disaster over time. It is a cumulative process. And so as our frogs who are slowly boiled in water that started out cool and comfortable, but then becomes unbearable. Patriarchy starts out good. The men look protective. They seem heroic. But if you read between the lines and look beneath the surface, you will see that there is something else going on. And that there is overt suppression, oppression, and abuse of the female. and that she, in her part for practicing patriarchy, fails to gather with her half or kind of the humankind to overcome this, and subjugates herself to fit in with it. She does not define in her statements to her male kind what is occurring. Too often, she goes along with it. It seems easier to do so, but it is not. Because over a cumulative span of time, the system of patriarchy destroys itself. The sustainable anthropological arrangement is what we call egalitarian. In an egalitarian anthropological arrangement, females and males make the decisions equally. As a result of that, more of the estrogen-based virtues are sustained. Nurturing, connection, empathy, mutual respect, and intuition throughout time. When females are subjugated, as within patriarchy, what appears to be male virtues tip in a direction toward male vice and female vice. And the operating principles of the society are dominance, domination, exploitation, action without a strong foundation and intuitive understanding of the implications of the action, and eventually collapse, catastrophe, death, and extinction. The male virtues are very important. We are not here in any way denigrating males. Males' ability to act quickly, their tendency to have greater bodily strength, and often their slightly better spatial and mathematical inclinations and technological inclinations are very valuable to humanity. And we prize males as much as females. But we have to remember something about humanity. Females have 2 X chromosomes, and the males have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. The males do not have 2 Y chromosomes. The males have an X chromosome as well as the Y. They need and require a continuity and an overlap with the female's virtues. If the society subjugates the XX females long enough, they try to not only venerate the XYs, but become like them in order to gain any esteem within the social framework. Then what you have is, even though all people have either double X's or X and Y chromosomes, you have a society that is acting like Y. Everything is tipped to an extremity of action, domination, exploitation, technology without anthropological sustainability. That is our current situation. We have high technology, but the underlying social framework is so tipped to honoring older men that the virtues of women and younger people and all those who become necessarily exploited by the patriarchal arrangement, such as minorities and of course youth and children, are not heard. They are oppressed and they are suppressed and self-suppressing. After a while, they internalize their lower status. They don't expect to be heard. They don't speak up. They go along with the program of being underlings, and they wink at this arrangement so that the exploitative older males do not even get feedback that what they're doing is dangerous. This is the path to extinction. We are on it. But I have delivered you. I have given you a sugar pill, a chocolate pill, easy to swallow, very easy to implement. No big elections are needed, or what I call selections. Under patriarchy, we don't have actual elections. We have selections by money and by those already entrenched in power, so-called power. I have given you an antidote, because I dote on you and I love you. And Goddess God does too. And all you have to do is take the new millennial golden rule to your local neighborhood, your neighbors, and to your extended family. Get past the nuclear family and atomic divorced family boundary and sit down with your extended family, starting with females and young people aged 37 and younger. Discuss the new millennial golden rule and begin to make decisions according to what you already know what you want. You have already been polled many, many times, and we know that about 97% of people want the world to go completely to 100% renewable energy. They do not want dangerous forms of energy. They do not want oil, coal, and nuclear. In large part, they do not want this. They want renewable energies, solar, wind, geothermal, that which is benign toward their planet. We know this is what people want. This comes up again and again on every poll taken. But it isn't what we have, is it? And why is that? Because the women and the youth and the minorities are not involved substantially enough to parity in the decision-making process. And they accept their lower status, and because they have internalized it, they keep recognizing the alleged pseudo-leadership. In fact, it's only pseudo-leadership of the older males. It is not true leadership at all. It is dominance and domination, which is different than leadership. Leadership is based in democracy. True leadership is is a divine right, and it is co-leadership. This month and all months must be based in the arrangement that was delivered in January and February of 1776 to North America, called Common Sense, from the family of Miriam Lambert and Payne and Tom Lambert Payne. and their little daughter who died in childbirth should be included in our thinking on this. Tom Lambert Payne, wanted a government with 50% women. He wrote, "Oh, woman, without you, we would be brutes." He was a smart guy. He saw the truth. We believe that that family is a reincarnation, partially, of the Magdalene and Nazarene family. They were a reincarnation. They had come back to do the better job. But again, they didn't make it because the Constitution was a patriarchal document that came up in 1789. The gathering of men who gathered excluded women, even though Abigail Adams wrote to her husband John, "John, make sure to remember the ladies." She wanted women to have full presence, but he ignored her writing to him. And the men around him ignored their writings. They gathered with some difficulty in those times because you had to ride on horseback to get to where you needed to go to gather. The women were not as good at that, and they had other duties that prevented them from doing it so easily. So the gathering was for reasons related to transportation and also regarding literacy. There were many more men at that time who were literate than women. Their gathering was patriarchal, and they abrogated and betrayed common sense. And they set up a government that was all male, that allowed slavery, that did not include the indigenous natives to the land that they were on, and had a property requirement so that younger people generally also could not participate. And only men above age 38 and over generally were involved. In addition, the newspapers of the time, despite the initial publications of Common Sense, reverted to a patriarchal model. And therefore, the voice of the female was not carried to the population. The voice of the indigenous was not carried to the population, many of whom were illiterate in terms of English. And so of the slaves, who had many yet have African tongue. And their truth never came into play. As a result, from 1789 on, North Americans were in a state of total and complete hypocrisy with regard to the original reason given in the seminal document, which was Common Sense. Or let's say, I won't say seminal, let me say the enlightening document that was Common Sense. Because of their not being able to control their press from patriarchy, they reverted back to something very similar to what they thought they were having their revolution about. They killed lots of Englishmen, all the Tories. There were lots of battles. And then what did they wind up with? Only a slightly more diverse group of leadership than they had in England. Not very much at all, because in England you also already had the lords. The lords were very active with the kings. They had say-so. What we wound up with in the United States was very similar. We had industrial barons. We had big plantation owners. Those became our government. The rest of the people were not really included. But like good little sheeple then, as you are good little sheeple now, you went along with the patriarchal program. At that time, the worst problems that came out of that were disease and continual warfare of one kind or another. That is continuing to be the scourges of patriarchy, but you have another little feature now. Because in those days, the technology was limited to the cannon and the musket. Now you have a nuclear bomb. Now you have fracking. Now you have drilling. You didn't have that then, but you have it now. And therefore, your technology is tipping you to death. The answer is the anthropological foundation of a society has to be intelligently and quickly shifted out of patriarchy to gender parity and all the intersectional justices that brings with it. So just go to read the New Millennial Golden Rule at 5050now.wordpress.com. And please stop acting like a chimpanzee, because you are going to kill yourselves. I have precious family with enormous gifts that are acting like very sick, deranged chimpanzees. The women will not talk to each other, and the men continue to vote for old patriarchs and run after them and encourage them in their role of domination. The women do that too. The women are acting like men, many of them. They think that a salary and a title are more important than a family, because they've been socialized over such a long time to think that. My family is very important to me, but they reject me. I am the one member of my family that keeps in touch with everyone, and they don't respond. They also don't respond to each other. They don't even try to keep in touch with each other, because they are in a patriarchal mindset, in a lockstep kind of way, and they are not aware of what they are missing. I keep telling them, and they're not getting it. I am praying to Mother, Father, Goddess, God, that my having participated in this earlier in my life, when I shouldn't have. You see, I think I always was Cosmic Christ, but I didn't know. I didn't know who I was. I didn't see the situation clearly. I couldn't have stepped up to the plate of the position of Messiah because I didn't see the need for it. I thought everybody was fair. I thought everybody was like me. I wasn't genderist. I thought most people were not. I was wrong. Most people are genderist. It doesn't do them any good. It's the reason that all people thus far have been mortal instead of immortal, because they're genderist. And they've shut down the sources of their own eternal youth, which are based in estrogen, the X chromosome. So now you have that in a fairly concise description of what's going on here. I want to make it very clear. I'm not against older men, and I'm not against even alpha males. But alpha males and older men, when they are allowed to become the overwhelming leaders of a society, and you don't have parity for great expanses of time, thousands of years, you cannot expect to be sustainable, and you cannot expect to be happy, and you cannot expect to be immortal and eternally young. What you wind up is sick and using all of your sicknesses to treat yourself. So everybody gets sick and they run to a patriarchal doctor, and it gives them more pills, and they actually over time get sicker because they are ignoring the real sources of health, which are holistic and based in the interactions of people and the reduction of stress. Everybody is terribly stressed and rushing for pills. and all these pills are being marketed, and the money system that credits the purchase is based in a patriarchal mindset. And so it is the gross domestic product instead of the genuine progress indicator, which we now have and could implement very easily because we have computers to allow us to evaluate real wealth on a stochastic ongoing basis. But we're not using them because we are continuing to allow our leadership to remain in the hands of mostly old men, particularly in the boardrooms. They manipulate the politicians. The politicians become their puppets in order to get on their little vehicle of communication, which is television mostly and radio, and they own it. And they don't want you there. And they keep you who have diverse opinions off. They kept Tom Steyer, or is it Steyer? I forget, of Fallon Investments off when he wanted to do his ads regarding the Keystone Pipeline and the general picture of preference for oil over renewable energies. They kept him off. They keep off anyone. They overwhelmingly carried in California the messages of those who are in favor of GMOs, who are mostly old men. But they have a large coterie of minion women. The women are big enablers of this. And unless you get the full voice of women, who are not caught up in the patriarchal corporate arrangement, you cannot save yourself. And you are going to go down with the lies of the media and their censorship, and they are encouraging you to go down and die. And you know, I have to be honest with you. Some of the people who are leading our corporations have been tested and found to be sociopaths. There's the work of Robert Hare that shows very clearly that some of the people who are on our corporate boardrooms are sociopaths. And why are they such? Because they were raised usually by a series of nannies, not with loving involvement and empathy developed with their own mothers. They look upon people as interchangeable parts in a machine, and they do not experience emotional bonding. They are deformed. They are crippled. But they are controlling your society because you are letting them. There's a simple way out of this. It is based on the concepts of satyagraha of the great Hindu tradition, but there are versions of that in every tradition. It is a nonviolent non-cooperation. You just turn off the television. You just don't go to an election that doesn't have parity and full intersectional representation. You just don't go. You just don't do it. Then this terrible juggernaut is shifted, and it grinds to a halt, and it shifts in your direction, which is the entirety, the wholeness of a society. And that actually helps everyone. And the ironic thing about it is that it allows the old guys a chance for eternal life instead of just dying on top. It's a gift to them too. My great ancestry, Maryam of Magdala and Jesus of Nazareth and their families, including Maryam of Nazareth, preached that a rich man can get into the heavens with the same likelihood as a camel through an eye of a needle. It cannot be done because the accumulation of wealth at the expense of other people is in itself sinful. It is not a success. It is a sin of separation from the entirety or the wholeness of one society. The Jubilee was developed by patriarchal religion in a way of corrective. And every 50 years, when the people remained in the land of Israel, the original land of Israel, there was a complete redistribution of wealth every 50 years. And especially there was great attention every 7th year, and of course in the 50th year also, to allowing the land to rest, to not be exploited, to recover, to sleep, so it could wake up refreshed. But we are not doing that. And as a result, we are not sustainable. We forgot the ancient wisdom of the Jubilee, even within a patriarchal arrangement. We don't have that either. We are on a runaway train to extinction. So the way to get off the runaway train is to get off at a lovely way station called the New Millennial Golden Rule. It's at 5050now.wordpress.com, and read below it the 11 steps that describe the simple activities, and in most situations, non-activities. Your inactivities by choice to prevent extinction. Don't watch television. Don't buy anything over the internet new until all of the internet corporations have management that reflects the entire population, that is 50% female at least, and full presence of intersectional minorities in the region in which they are serving. And don't buy anything inessential over the internet until that is the arrangement in the corporate boardroom. And also, don't call people by the titles given in patriarchal arrangements. Don't call them CEOs of chief executive officers. Don't call them CFOs, chief financial officers. Don't call them presidents. Don't call them prime ministers. Don't call them pope. Don't call him imam. Don't call him guru. Call him errant brother, errant cousin brother, and call yourselves co-secretary generals, co-saviors in divine democracy. And sit down with your love thy neighbor neighborhoods, love and respect thy neighbors, female and male, equally and of all ages. And if your neighborhood doesn't include any minorities, but your city does, get some of those more minorities to be at least a part of some of your meetings. And start making the decisions that you already know you want. You want organic food. Start growing it in your neighborhood. You want solar and renewable energies. Make sure that's the way of your neighborhood. It's extremely easy to do now. The lovely people in the solar industry have made a way for everybody to go solar with no money down. Totally, it's a lease. It's called a lease arrangement. Now, the nice thing to think about this is just think about it for a minute. Everybody thinks, oh, I put no money down, but I'll have to pay later. But actually, no, you really won't. And I'll tell you why. Because if you and all your neighbors, I'm talking about the whole neighborhood or most of your neighborhood, and that's occurring in many neighborhoods, quickly go solar, guess what? All several hundred of you in your neighborhood, and you multiply that by every neighborhood on earth, no longer is paying any electric bill. You have now saved trillions of dollars. You have also eliminated the need for a military, which mostly is protecting natural gas and oil transportation lines. So you've saved another bunch of trillions there. All of a sudden, guess what? Everybody is naturally wealthy. They have time. The time that they were using to earn the money to pay the electric bills for oil and coal, suddenly they don't lose that time. They can spend that time learning over the internet and especially loving their family and their neighbors and their extended family, who are also everybody in the world, because in fact we now know from the anthropology and genetics workups that we all, of course, share 99+% of our DNA, and we are at most 50th cousina and 50th cousin from every human being on our shared planet. So we are all family, and if we could learn to have a family in which the old men don't dominate, but the females gather together enough to support one another, to free them from domination, and protect their youth and children from being excluded when decisions are made, then, lo and behold, you have divine democracy, you have no stress, you start living hundreds and thousands of years, and you are equinox, true cues. Just watch Stargate and look at the rules of operation of the equinox. They live in harmony with nature, but they figured everything out. They're very nonviolent, very sweet people. They're like real smart hippies, and they don't cause any danger or stress, and they can heal very easily because they put their energy into harmony with nature instead of exploitation of nature. And that helps them have a medicine and a curative ability that can even heal disease and injury very easily. So, and this is the imagery of Star Trek also. It is a teamwork society. It is not a top-down society. It is egalitarian, and it is diverse, and it is mutually beneficial. The greatest good for the greatest number is the rule of operation of everyone in that society. Not me first and my family and my line and my country, but not yours. That is not their rule. They are not competitive primarily. They are primarily excellently cooperative. They're quantum level cooperation. So what we want this month, which is a leap year month, is a quantum leap to the new millennial golden rule, and we want to help you make that possible. So we are doing these broadcasts, and we are doing them in your name, and we pray to Goddess God that Goddess God hears me and hears what I am doing, and that I disseminate this material quickly enough that it can make the difference. And that is where the trouble has been coming from. I'm kind of overwhelmed. I'm one of the most sane voices on this planet right now. And there isn't enough cooperation because women in my society are so scarred by their being betrayed, not only by men, but by women who have been purveying tokenism and gradualism instead of parity as progress. These women have become very dangerous. It's as if they got caught in the revolving door of democracy and kept you from coming through the door. They did not let you in. They worked with the old guys, and they normalized what the old guys were doing, and they got stuck. And 90% of that is because many of these women have extreme father hunger or father loss or father domination in their own family experience, and they are mentally preset to obey and to conform to the leadership of old men. They are troubled women. I love them, and I want them very much included in our new government of divine democracy, but they are troubled women. They're troubled people. And we have to liberate them by telling them that they do have a problem, and that tokenism is not parity, and that they've been doing tokenism and less than critical mass presence for way too long in North America, in Russia, in China, and in much of the upper, so-called upper, it's not really upper, in certain levels of the government of India, and in too many countries, too many lands. I like to call them lands rather than countries, because they're just lands that are within the great land of Earth. They are interconnected. Their nature is contiguous. The weather patterns include them all. They're not separate countries. There is no such thing on an interconnected planet. So you have the big picture, but where it's really tough is dealing with the internalized patriarchy of your own family and community. That's where it's a real problem, because you're going to find a lot of women who don't want to talk to each other, And you're going to find a lot of men who don't even notice, or either don't even notice that the women aren't talking to each other, or instigate them to not talk to each other. Instigate a division among women. Those guys are very dangerous. I have them in my family. You have them in your family. And they instigate. They play one group of women off against usually the less patriarchal voices. They play the patriarchalized women against the non-patriarchalized women. And in that manner, they ensure the extinction of the entire tribe. That's what's going on. Their impulse to be on top is so overwhelming to them that they don't know that they're killing themselves and killing everybody that they're supposed to love. So we have to help these guys. Ladies, you have to gather with me here and bring your youth, female and male, age 37 and younger. If you don't, and I've been saying this to you for about 3 years, but it's only within the last year or so that I've begun the broadcasting. I'm hoping God will extend our lease. I keep praying that if you're going to keep along this stupid path on patriarchy, that God has give you an epiphany experience. In other words, something that catches you up short but doesn't have to kill you permanently. Something that maybe slows you down and cripples you for a while, but you can recover from. Because if I keep broadcasting the truth to you, this common sense circa the new millennia, that I am, as your first but not last or only cosmic Christ, delivering to you, then you might be able to slow down long enough to read the new millennial golden rule, to embrace it, to make it the rule of your neighborhood and every neighborhood on this planet. And that's that simple. Then you'll wind up with solar energy and a protected internet, and you will become very quickly on the Q continuum. The stress of your life will decrease greatly. You'll have much more time. You'll have the healing and kindly qualities of the equinoxes of Star Trek. It's called noxes in Stargate, but I have added the equi to emphasize the need for egalitarian and EQ and equity in a society. Okay, so there we are, and just visit our website. It's at 5050now.wordpress.com. I'll give you a screen share, and that's our broadcast for today. Or that's our broadcast for the starry hours today. We'll have more broadcasts in the bright sunshine tomorrow.